Welcome to Eyes and Teeth, Voices of Variety, Season 9, Edition 4. Tony Rudd and I go way back to the late 1990s. We worked the same venues, we met up, we entered the same TV talent shows, and then there was a gap. Different work, whether cruise ships or pantomimes, separated our paths. But even after a long gap, when we recently met up, it was like we were together last week. He's a joy to be around, a lovely guy, talented man, and one of the most giving in the way of helping others in his Vibe radio project, working alongside children with disabilities and giving them fun and tuition from one of the best in the business. On Britain's Got Talent in 2019, Tony wowed the fans and judges of the show with his recycled props, and he stood out with his talented voices so much that he made it to the live shows at the Hammersmith Apollo. We talk about Robin Williams, Britain's Got Talent, voiceovers, radio, and much more on episode 4 of Eyes and Teeth, Voices of Variety. Welcome, Tony Rudd. We caught up, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, and Phil Butler's belated 50th birthday party in the garden. That was brilliant.
So belated, he was 51 at the time as well.
He was. But it was so nice to bump into you. I think we bump into each other every 15 years, and then we catch up like we just live around the corner, and we literally saw you last week. But it was so nice to see you, and a good surprise, actually, to see you walk in, or me walk in and you be there.
That's it, because when Phil said, I said, who's going to be there? And he named, and he said, you're going to be there. And he said, Eastie was going to be there. Oh. And I said, I haven't seen Eastie for about 10 years, and I haven't seen you. I don't know, got to be 15, something like that.
I think that was it. Yeah, it was. I walked through your house, didn't I? I came to your house, walked through the hallway, and it was like I was walking to a Star Wars or Star Trek convention because of walking through. Just the memorabilia on the walls. I love that. I love that sort of thing.
I remember you saying at the time, you said it's like Universal Studios in here. I think
that's it. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I downgraded it. No, I prefer that one, what I used to say. That was good. No, I was blown away. It was lovely and really, really nice to see. I don't know about your early days, so I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. So what did you watch on TV? What did Tony Rudd watch? Was it like Knight Rider, those sort of things? Mork and Mindy, Happy Days? Please tell me that Robin Williams was your first impression, because I know you do a great Robin Williams. Is that him behind you? That is him on the picture. Wow.
Oh, amazing. Yes. Good morning, Vietnam. How you doing? It's Steve Hewlett in the Eyes and Teeth Show. Oh, yes. What does the O stand for? Oh, my God, I can make a big voice now and not wearing a mask. Oh, yes. I never take off my mask. My nickname is the Deaf Mandalorian. Oh, yes. Yeah. You can guess by that. I've watched a bit of Mork and Mindy. Mork and Mindy was great. Yeah. And I remember once Mork and Mindy was around about that time when I first discovered going out, and we had a few beers at my at this place I worked at when I was an engineer when I was about 18. And I'd had a few beers, but the couple of beers was a bit much. And I come home, and my sister was watching Happy Days, which of course where Mork and Mindy came from.
Yes,
Mork and Mindy was a spin-off of Happy Days, and you being the sitcom nerd that you are, you'd know that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you just found that out. Yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd on sitcoms.
And I said to my sister, "Oh, I need you to make me a cup of coffee. I feel bad." And she said, "I'm watching the Fonz." When I finished watching the Fonz, and then the adverts came on, and she just grabbed me, put my head down the toilet, and flushed my head. That's how my sister sobered me up.
Really?
So, yes.
Bless her.
So yeah, and,
I actually flushed it before. I mean, it was empty when she done that.
Yeah, it was a fresh one. Yeah, yeah. I used to watch Mike Yarwood. We mentioned Mike Yarwood earlier.
Yes,
when we were having a chat, and I used to watch him, and he, I think, was probably the first time I realized that I could do voices. I was watching Mike Yarwood, and I went to school, and I said to the kids, "Did you watch Mike Yarwood on Saturday?" And they said, "Oh no, we were watching, I don't know, something on the other side." And I said, "It's all right. I remember how it goes." And I said, first he does Robin Day, and I go, "Good evening, but I'll soon put a stop to that." And I just started doing the whole Mike Yarwood show.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because I memorized it.
Yeah.
So this was when I was, probably about 12 or 13. So I'd come in, that I don't know how often they used to ask me, but that would be it. I'd do Mikey Harwood for them.
So every Monday morning, the kids will come in on Monday morning and say, "Oh, Tony, we missed Mike Yarwood's show. What did he do?" Okay, sit down and I'll do the half hour. So it's
do the
amazing.
full half hour, plus adverts and stuff like that. So that's it. That's sort of how the mimicry started.
Oh, that's so nice.
And I used to watch Doctor Who. Doctor Who was a bit of a nerd as well, as you can probably guess. Watched a bit of Doctor Who.
Okay, so was sci-fi a part of your childhood, like Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, all that sort of thing? You loved that as a kid?
Bit of Star Trek when I was a kid, because they didn't have when I was a kid. There was only about 2 seasons of Star Trek, and then it vanished.
Yes,
and so you had things like the Champions. I don't know if you remember that. The Saint with Roger Moore.
Yeah, just vaguely, yes.
All these old TV shows, and then we had these. I think these are ones that me parents watched.
Right.
And I watched Doctor Who, and I think in each one of them, I was sort of like watching them, and then doing Roger Moore would come on as the Saint to go, my name is the Saint, but I don't know who's playing Greavesy. That was Roger Moore's.
That's nice.
I just used to love watching and sort of doing voices from the telly and things like that. Yeah.
Yes. Do you remember? So was it talent shows at school, or how did you get to do your first performance? Was people telling you, "Oh my God, you're so good at this. Go and do this show or talent show," or did someone pluck you up? I remember
I used to mess about with the teachers doing Donald Duck at the back of the class. There was the teacher, one of the teachers, the religious education teacher, and he was there was something about him which is probably a good thing, that he was quite amenable. He didn't seem that bothered, and he was just quite, it was just his I was just going to say his shows, his classes were a bit of a chat, and somebody said, "Go and do your Donald Duck." So I'd lift my desk up and go, "Oh yeah, how you doing?" Right, and he would just look up and say, "You could make a lot of money doing that one day." That was what he said.
Oh, so, nice. Because they can be cutting. Some teachers can be say, you'll amount to nothing. You hear a lot of comedians say that, or stop wasting our time, get out of class, stand outside. I remember mimicking in my school assembly. I was mimicking the headmistress, and she was using her hands a lot, and I was trying to make one of my mates next to me on the bench. I think the fact I was sat on a bench and everyone else was on the floor, there was, prefects. I think you got to sit on the bench at the back. And on this occasion, I wasn't a prefect, but I was sat on the bench, and I was just mimicking her hands, the way her hands were going. But she obviously saw me because I'm right at the back in front of her eye line. And then Mr. Hewlett, Stephen Hewlett, that was my name back then. Stand up, go and wait outside my office. And so I remember standing outside her office opposite the little library, and I was devastated, really, that I got told off. Such a shy kid, So standing outside the office, knowing, and the whole school knew that I'd been told off. That's the worst thing about it. Yeah. Because I thought, maybe I could make them all laugh, but no, they all sort of were laughing at me rather than with me by that time. Yeah. So but your teachers were kind of understanding by what you told me.
Well, some of them were. I remember once I farted at school and a teacher kicked me out. He got very angry with me. Geography teacher.
Well, you say geography. Did he know whereabouts the fart was then? He knew exactly it came from you.
Well, he wasn't a biology teacher. He would have told us everywhere about that. But he says, yes, you should be out in. He said you should be out in the fields with those animals. He said. So that's how geology.
This is biology. Let's cut up Tony Rudd and see what he's eating for dinner to make that disgusting smell. What was it?
Yeah. So I got kicked out. You do some things. There was one of my favorite quotes. There was a teacher who did a school report, and his school report, he actually said, and I actually put this, when you put your quotes of what reviews have said of you, I actually put this quote down, and he said, behind the mask of a clown, he has a brain. He should use it. That's what the English teacher said.
No, if you're going to write a biography, that's That's in the first chapter, isn't it? A quote like that from a teacher. That's brilliant. That could be the name of your book.
Behind the mask of a clown. Then I started working at a nightclub DJ, and I used to do it. I used to love, in between the records, I'd sort of take the mickey out of people and sort of say what they're wearing and things like that. And I think that was where it started. And then, you know, I was asked by the local radio station to put some stuff together.
Right.
And, you know, because they you know, because of the nightclub DJing, they said, oh, come and transfer some of this stuff to radio. So I'd do some editing. And do you remember the old days of editing with with spools?
The splicing and things.
Yeah, splicing.
I did it in college. Yeah. I had to do it in college with in the theatre. They showed us how to splice. I had no idea what they showed me. It didn't go in. I saw it on that day. I never saw it again. I couldn't deal with all that. But did you enjoy that process?
Yeah, I used to do that. I used to do that up at the radio station.
Yeah, because Kenny Everett used to do that, didn't he? Kenny Everett
is my hero. It's one of my heroes. Robin Williams, Kenny Everett, my heroes. Hello.
There's always three.
Welcome to the Kenny Everett video show. And now this. You know, so it was like that.
Oh, that's amazing. Is this why you're in radio as well? Because now you're in radio, and back then you just started to do the radio, but you're doing characters within it as well and adding.
I was doing characters and voices. That they got me doing adverts for them as well up at the radio station.
Amazing.
And so I would do the adverts a lot. I'd do a lot of Kenny Everett style adverts. You know, yes, it's TT week this week on the Isle of Man. It's time to get your big rubber wheels. You know, so I do lots of Kenny Everett type adverts for TT week on the Isle of Man.
Love that. Yeah.
So I started that, and then they wanted me to do Ronald Reagan. Because it was back in the 80s, Ronald Reagan, and they wanted me to do Reagan saying, "Hello, my name is Ron. I'm going to talk to Gorbachev about that big mark on his head." You know, that sort of thing. There was that. Yeah. So
nice.
And that's how it started.
Oh, that's fantastic. And did you get a manager in the early days, or did you just
when I moved? Eventually, I left the Isle of Man because I was born on the Isle of Man.
Were you really? Where Norman Wisdom obviously loved it there, didn't he? Yeah.
Norman Wisdom lived there, and the Bee Gees were born there.
Wow.
Do you remember the Bee Gees?
So it's the Isle of Men. I do remember them. The Isle of Men, really, wasn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah, they were born in the same maternity hospital I was. You know, like
that's why you can do those high voices. There must be something. Must have used a lot of helium on the old laugh. You know, the laughing gas and stuff.
I'm the lost Bee Gee. I'm going to go up to Barry, which is the one that's still alive. Barry. Barry. I'm the replacement. We can put the band back together again.
And you could do the other two.
Can't tell by the way I use my walk.
Yeah, that works.
Me and Steve. We're your new Bee Gee brothers.
You remember Kenny Everett doing the Bee Gees when he played all three, didn't he? That was him, wasn't it?
It was fantastic sketch. You know,
brilliant with the teeth.
He would have this do-it-yourself Bee Gee kit. You know, and he said it's sort of like take pill A for the falsetto Bee Gee voice. You know, take pill B for the teeth and shirt open to the navel revealing hairy chest pill. You know, that was all that, you know. Yeah.
That's genius. That's so good.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Brilliant. I'd love to recreate that sketch somehow. That'd be great.
Well, you just did. Oh wow. Thanks for that, man. I've been entertained a lot today. I love that. It's normally we just chat and it's so nice. You're very giving, Tony. Very giving, sir.
Well, yeah. Well, it's nice you're dragging it out of me, mate. So you know.
I'm sorry.
Pushing
not
dragging, you know, pushing the right buttons, you know.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah. You're gonna have to invoice me after this. Eyes and teeth. You got many talents, and your vocals are the star, aren't they? So, in any particular part of the genre of entertainment that you do, because you do all of this. You do stand-up comedy, impressions, voiceovers, TV, radio, pantomime characters, summer productions, cruise ships, compare work. Is there any genre that you enjoy more than the other, or is it all one package that you just adore doing?
I think some of it goes hand over fist. Some of it's sort of expected, and you think, well, you've got to do it. You've got to do your bread and butter, like yourself. There's venues out there that you think, well, that doesn't really suit me, but I'll do them, sort of thing.
Sure.
But I do like doing comedy nights with adults and stuff like that. They're great, and I love panto. Panto is me biggest thing, I think, because I'm just so childish, Steve. I know you can't tell from just talking to me at the moment, but I'm such a kid at heart.
You haven't changed in those 15 years I've seen you. Haven't. I'm glad you haven't changed, mate. And it was such a delight. We'll get onto that show, BGT, which we both were part of. But I was so made up when I saw you on there. I said, Nina, watch this guy. Watch Tony. And she was, I think you've met. I think she knows of you. And we were so happy watching you. And both times you nailed it, But yeah, so it is. So I know you haven't. They say grown up, don't they? We don't grow up. I still play with dolls, and you still do your voices. But it's amazing.
I love the fact you play with your dolls, mate. That's brilliant.
Yeah,
You've not changed though, mate. You're still like the boyish character that I knew back then and stuff like that. And I mean, recently I put on Instagram a photo of us all. I don't know if you've seen it at all. You, me, Berlin, Paul Eastwood was in it.
Oh, the Babacom shot.
Yeah. Yes, just outside the Babacom. Yeah.
98, wasn't it? 1998, I think.
It was around about that time. I think it was 96 or 98, something. And it was like a showcase.
It was before I went into Babacom. And then, I started at the Hippodrome for Trevor George, and Anne George put us in there. So we done the Hippodrome Eastbourne. And then the second year as well, I met my wife in Eastbourne. And then me and Nina came down and we got engaged in Babacom the following year in 2001. 20 years ago, we did that. Wow. And I've done 4 for him since, So you've done a few of the Babacom shows, didn't you?
I did. I did one called Alive with Laughter, and I did one the year before, which was Sunday Night with the Stars. And he was going to do one in Bournemouth.
Yes.
And he pulled out. He did one. And then the following year we were talking, he was going to say, yeah, come along and do it. And I was really up for it. Yeah. And then they said, there was, as usual, a bit of difference in the contract. And then so he pulled out.
That's such a shame, because I was quite excited when that happened, because I was earline to do it. And it may have been me and you, or maybe I was earline for the year before. But yeah, it never came off in the end. They done 1 year, and then he was trying to get Axe, wasn't he, to do the second year? And I think that could have been the season we would have done.
Because he was saying that we're going to go for another season, and then they didn't.
It's a shame. Yeah.
And then they put a show in anyway, and I became compere of that show. I was comparing and doing my act and stuff, and I was doing it with Arnold Gutbucket was in it, and
brilliant.
Matrix, the magic act, they were in it.
Yeah, love them.
Yeah,
that's
great.
A strong show as well. It's brilliant. Jim Birmingham, isn't it? Jim Birmingham.
And Jim, yeah, he's a good lad. He's a very funny, fresh, original guy.
He is, isn't he? So he is, or he was Arnold Gutbucket. Does he not go out as that anymore? Yeah.
I think he does, yeah.
Yeah.
He does. He said somebody offered him a panto, but they said we can't do it we can't put Arnold Gutbucket on our poster. And he said, well, I'm not interested then. So yeah. So if you're listening, Jim, good on you, mate. He's such a funny guy.
Yeah,
I always say he's like the lost member of Monty Python.
Yes.
Arnold Gutbucket. That's how I always think of him.
He's unique, isn't he? Very unique.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of social clubs. Remember the social clubs? I used to love working with acts, bands and comedians in social clubs. I've done gigs with the Barron Knights and Jeff Rowe, and just doing a full night, where they just 15, 20 quid a ticket. They'll get soup in a basket and chips and or cheese and onion roll at the bar, £1 a pint, wasn't it? And all these clubs. And I started in the business when I was in my early 20s, and John Howe was booking, and Dings Entertainment. and you know, and it was quite Wally Dent. I don't know if you worked for Wally
I
Dent,
remember
but
Wally. Yeah.
yeah, wonderful man.
Okay.
And it was just so nice to get a gig like that, you know, Tony Barry, and just doing all these social clubs. It was fantastic to work with these different acts.
Yeah, it was great. And I used to work. I used to work with social clubs, and I used to compare at the Caravan Club. They used to
Right.
have a big. It was like a festival, mate. And they'd have these big. There was these big stages. Sometimes they're in a big, massive marquee,
Yeah.
and you always had 2,000 plus. And I did about six or something. And Barra
Wow.
Nights, you mentioned them, they were on one of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And who else? I did one where I was the compare in like a field festival stage, and I was comparing it, doing bits, and it was like all 80s bands. It was like The Real Thing. There was Jerry and the Pacemakers.
Oh, that's
I
so
did the
cool.
Gold Retro Night. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like you say about doing different areas of show business, isn't it? You got the corporate, you got the radio, the holiday parks, cruises, pantomime, and obviously last year it all stopped. There was nothing we could do. But I guess we all came onto Zoom and started to do what we could here. But because you're vocal, Tony,
Yeah.
you can, and you do radio. I guess the radio carried on for you.
Yeah. I was in here in this very room editing day and night, mate. As soon as it happened, I thought, right, I can still make it work.
Yes.
I can put it on me Audacity, edit on me Audacity. And I had the teachers, they were doing Zoom to their students,
Right.
and they were sending me the resulting audios.
Okay.
I was editing the audio together, putting sound effects on it, whatever I need. We did dramas as well. We did a Zoom drama. We even did
Fantastic.
a Zoom panto. And basically I just got all their recordings and I edited them. So I mean, and some of the recordings were done in December and some were done in January. So I'd have Cinderella talking to a prince, and the resulting audio would be Cinderella speaks, and then the prince speaks. His audio was done 2 months later. But it still sounded great.
You have to splice them together. Can you imagine if it was the old system and not? I can't
Imagine
believe
that.
you had the audacity to do that.
Oh yes.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you for that. But obviously Panto up to 2019, that was the job to have at Christmas, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
it paid for your holiday or your tax bill. Never both of them, just one or the other, wasn't it?
It's me holiday.
Yeah. Do you remember them? No.
Yeah.
and then
What's that?
it got you through the winter, didn't it? And then, but as well as being a really, really fun job. So pantomime, I've done about 11 in my time. That's not that many really compared to a lot of my mates, but you've starred as Wishy Washy, Silly Simon, Buttons, even your own character Ruddles at Redditch you did. So changed
Ruddles.
it to your, that's
Yeah.
great to use your own name, isn't it?
I thought it was funny, and I thought it was about time I did it. A lot of people would, if I was ever doing a panto and it was Muddles, people would call me Ruddles. Off stage, you go to the bar, you come to the bar, Ruddles. And so I said to Paul Holman, who I was working with at the time, and he's great. He's great to work for. I love.
He's wonderful, Paul, isn't he? Never worked for him. I've only met Paul at buffets, and it's all opening nights, and then he disappears. It's opening nights of shows he's not part of, and shows that I'm not part of. But we're always invited to buffets. He's always there.
Yeah.
We're always eating sausage rolls and sandwiches. But so I've only met him at events. But he's
Really?
and hopefully one day I will work for him. He's a wonderful guy.
Yeah, he is great. I mean, I did 7 in a row for him,
Wow.
and so it was at Redditch. I said to them as they're writing the script, I said, "Could I, as I'm known as Muddles, could I change it to Ruddles?" And they said, "Yeah, let's do that." So I've got Ruddles. I've got this panto handbill with Tony Rudder's Ruddles. So it's good to have your own character.
Yes. That's fantastic. And I've seen a couple of pantos at the Richmond Theatre, which is a beautiful theatre, and you worked there as Smee. And
oh yeah,
but to actually do Peter Pan with one of the greatest baddies in the business, Simon Callow, and possibly the greatest Peter Pan ever, Bonnie Langford. that, and you as Ruddles, no, you was Smee, Schmuddles,
Smuddles.
it doesn't work. And so, but that must have been a great. Well, what a cast though, and the venue as well.
That was an amazing cast. Like you say, the venue was fantastic. The venue, every night at the venue, there was always somebody in the audience, and you go, it's Richard Bryars in the audience, or you'd say, like it's Ian McKellen in the audience.
It's a place to be, Richmond, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. And a lot of these people come backstage and you meet them because they're all mates of Simon Callow. And Simon Callow was the loveliest bloke to work with. He was just so good, such a really lovely bloke. And he started off, quite mellow with the character Hook. And then and then all of a sudden it gathered momentum and he just made it his own. He did these one-liners that only he could do. There was things he could only say. And the unforgettable thing is that they made him, he wasn't comfortable with it at first. And they made him sing Bad by Michael Jackson for the Hook thing. He's going, I'm bad, I'm really, really bad, sort of thing. And he decided, I'm not singing this. Singing is not in my comfort zone. He's going to project it like a Shakespearean actor. So he was just going, I'm bad, I'm really, really bad. You know it, And it was like that. And it just became such a cult classic,
Wow.
And Bonnie was amazing. She would do all these somersaults on her wires.
Oh, yes.
Like that.
She must have done that for so many years, that part.
Yeah. She's even there's a book about Peter Pan, and she's in there as one of the sort of like creme de la month. Yeah, the creme de la month of the Peter Pan world, I'm telling you, Christy. Yeah.
But to be in that stellar cast, giants of show business, and the reviews came in and they were kind of about you, weren't they? The stage newspaper said, sterling work from Tony Rudd as Smee injects humour, life, and mercifully pace into proceedings. And that's just brilliant. You just got some really great reviews for it, and they were on your side. That's so nice.
I was really pleased with the reviews that came in, and it worked really well for me when the show came in. There was lots of technical problems, and they said, we can't do this set change in under 7 minutes. You are going to have to go out there and do something. And it was like, right. Isn't that just the blessing that any comic artist gets?
Yes.
We need you to hold the fort for 7 minutes. Can you do it? And you just rub your fingers and you go, oh yes, can I do that? Here we go. So you're on it, you're out there. So yeah. So I
fantastic.
Hypnotism sketch I wrote, which means I can do all the voices, all the impressions in and things, so.
Great. Yeah, to have that creative process is really that license, that creative license to have that and to be able to do what you do. There's another review here from BNet UK. We all love panto traditions, which Richmond Theatre's Peter Pan with Simon Callow and Bolly Langford. The scene stealer, however, is the comedian leading the audience bits. This year, Tony Rudd, whose skill is so accessible to kids and also works in the adult humor. It's nice for you to deliver to the whole family, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's great. That review is just amazing. It just
brilliant.
It just says all the right things. It doesn't pander to the artist too much. No, but it just says just the right things, like that.
Just what you need to hear, isn't it? And it keeps you going, and it's wonderful. And those obviously venues want to have you back time after time. I've never played Smee. I've never been in a Peter Pan pantomime. I've done loads of Aladdins and, done one Snow White. But anyway, this year I'm doing Peter Pan. What advice would you give someone who is going to be Smee? Arthur Lager's going to be Grandad Smee. So what advice do you have? I know it's energy, isn't it? You really got to put energy into it. And so
it's like it's your panto performance. So Smee, Peter Pan in itself is a different beast from a lot of normal pantos, but
I've not done panto for 5 years, and so I wanted to do something intimate, and this came to me, and I said, yeah, I like the sound of that, and I'm Smee. We've got Mr. Blobby's just been announced, so Mr. Blobby's in it. I hope he learns his lines, or he's just going to say blob, blob, blob. I know.
Blobbery,
But
blobbery, blobbery, blobbery.
yeah, so he, yeah, obviously he hasn't got to learn his lines. And then we got someone from Eggheads, CJ Moy. I want to go in there with as much energy as possible. And
yeah, I think energy is important. And energy, when I look at some reviews, the thing that sticks out in a lot of them is the energy. So always it's that energy. I mean, nowadays I have more energy just so they can't see. Hang on, he's older now. He's older than he was. No, I'm not. You can't see that. So
yeah, but you don't stand still long enough for them to find out.
Yeah, yeah. So you use your energy, use your voice. I'd say I always think, for me personally, and I think it probably worked for you, is that you do the kind of daftest character that you can, but the character is not as stupid as he seems. He can always play tricks on people. So
right, yes, very clever.
It's like it's as though the character is hiding behind the mask of a clown. Like my English teacher would say.
Yeah, yes. You've never forgot that, have you? Darn that English teacher. Yeah.
That English teacher, yeah. See, that I'll have those words on my gravestone, I think, behind the mask of a clown.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And it must be so nice for you to take on a role that has just one character, which is what you do now. And you do, it goes beyond just a few lines and gags when you really love playing a character, and then there's a whole show based around it. For instance, the Del Boy in Uncle Albert you play in Only Fools and Three Courses, the comedy dining, which I went to Edinburgh Festival in about 12 years ago, and I went to one of these. 40 Towers one I did, but now you're doing they only do Only Fools and Courses, don't they? And how does that work for you?
The company I work for have diversified. They do a Mrs. Brown one, they do the Fawlty Towers, they do the Only Fools and Three Courses. And a friend of mine in Panto introduced me to it, and I didn't know if it was something I wanted to do. But as soon as I start playing those characters, they're real larger than life characters, and they suit. It's almost like you're doing a panto as Del Boy, and you're playing Del Boy. And I play Uncle Albert in it as well. I do that.
Nice.
In the Mrs. Brown one, I play Mrs. Brown, and which is Fawlty Towers. I do Manuel, but I don't think I'm a natural Manuel. Although I can do the impression and move like him, I don't pull the look off. Right. I don't think Manuel was. I don't think Manuel was born in the Isle of Man. He's not got that ginger skin. Look at that ginger skin. But I've written one for the company. Called it's about Victor Meldrew, and it's called One Foot in the Gravy.
I love that. That's so good. Brilliant.
I do not believe it, Margaret.
Oh, that would be so good, him serving.
1 foot in the gravy. Yes, I'm going to be cooking your lunch, right? Unbelievable. So yeah, I've got that. And I looked at the format and did exactly what they do. You make it off an essence of the TV show, but you make it accessible to people who are right in front of you. So you can ad lib as well with them. So I've written that, One Foot in the Gravy. I'm very pleased. It's going in theatres in September. So,
mate, well done.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. And I'd love to see the Mrs. Brown one as well in that situation. That's just great fun.
I love Mrs. Brown. I mean, I've got the costume, and me, Steve, once I put these costumes on, for some reason or other, I don't have to try too hard. So it just happens to me naturally. I actually look like these characters, like that sort of thing. So I put the Mrs. Brown wig on, and it's hello, Steve, how are you? So it's your lad. So that,
Would you like some bread? Yeah. Eat the fucking bread.
Give us the fucking bread. There was I did panto once with good old Adam Day. You probably know Adam Day.
Adam, yeah, I love Adam. Yeah.
Yeah, Adam is another impressionist and ventriloquist as well. He does.
Yes.
A bit
we talked about that. Yeah, he's been on the show, and he does. He plays Lord Charles, and then he's got a Nookie Bear and an Orville the Duck. He does all three, doesn't he? Very clever. Yeah, great idea.
I did a panto with him at I think it was Redditch actually, the one where I played Ruddles,
All right.
and he was playing my mother. I think it was my mother in it,
Yeah.
and we were doing the echo gag. So there's two impressionists doing the echo gag. So basically, I'm doing Joe Pasquale and he's doing Joe Pasquale. I'm going, yeah. Oh, look, ladies and gentlemen, what's that going out over there? And he'd copy me, go, what's that going out there? You know, sort of thing. And I did this Mrs. Brown one day, and one day I was having lunch with the crew, and they said there's an actual place down the road called Feckingham, an actual place called Feckingham. And I said, right, I'm going to get Adam in the evening show. I'm going to get him. So I said to I did the usual setup to Adam. I said, I know where, and he goes, I know where you can get free lodgings in Feckingham. And he goes, what? He wasn't expecting it, and he was going, are we even allowed to say that? You know, like,
wow. You get away with that.
The audience brought the audience the house down because.
I think if you mentioned local areas, they love that, don't they?
Yeah. So that was good. It went down well in Feckingham. You know.
Can you believe that though? It's just fell into your script, didn't it? Naturally.
It just did it, and I just when I found it out, I just thought, right, I'm going to stitch Adam up with this tonight.
Oh, that's great.
Good old Adam. Hope you're listening, mate. You know.
Yes. Now I took my Nina to see Thriller live in London, and I remember saying to Nina, "Oh, they've actually got Vincent Price actually doing the voiceover. It's incredible." And this is Thriller, the musical in the West End. Until this morning, I found out it was you doing it.
Really? So you
were doing the voice?
I was. I still am. I still do the voice. I went to see it a couple of years ago. It was about 2 years ago, or three years ago. It was down Bournemouth. And I sneaked in the back just so I could listen to the Thriller bit of me. And yes, it's still me. You know, still me.
Oh,
you know,
nice.
they
because
gave me
you
a
would know
buyout.
it's you. Oh, did they buyout?
Yeah, I got a buyout with it, and I didn't know that they would still be doing it. I mean, I recorded it in 2008, and they're still doing. They still use, especially at the beginning bit. So you've seen the Thriller bit, the bit at the beginning where it goes. It says. Let me see if I can remember. It goes, those of you thinking of making flash photography and video recording must stand and face the hounds of hell. Sort of thing like that. Wow. But they put loads of echo and lots of effects on it. And when I went to see it, I was blown away by, what have they done? It's great.
Oh, that's so nice. You know what? I was on a cruise ship when Michael Jackson died. I watched it on the news when he went into hospital and then he passed away. And I was thinking, no, don't let this happen. And then literally I was flying back the next day from a cruise. And the next day, me and Nina were booked to see Thriller in London 2 days after he passed away. And so you can imagine the atmosphere and how somber it was, for the cast. It must have been, but I mean, at the end, they all came out. And the lead sort of said some words, that this is all for Michael, and it got huge standing ovation. And but literally, it was days after he passed away. But yeah, no, I remember that voiceover, mate. That was brilliant. It was so nice to find out today that was you, because I sat there and listened to you in the West End, and I didn't even know it was you.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was me, mate. Yeah, because it's there was a mate of mine who he was in the West End, and he said, he came out and he said, that sounds like Tony. That sounds like Tony doing that voice. And I don't know why he thought it was me, because it's hardly the best compliment. You're impressionist. Yeah, I can tell it's you, And he said that. And I did it in 2008. And in the actual Lyric Theatre. Did you go to the Lyric Theatre to see it?
Yes.
In the West End. And I recorded that voiceover in one of the dressing rooms in the back. On the laptop, pretty much like what we're doing now, It's
genius.
I didn't have it wasn't in the studio. It was in one of the dressing rooms on the laptop, And originally I did the darkness falls across the land. I did that bit as well.
All right.
And they discovered they discovered the actual original tapes of Vincent Price doing it. So they replaced me with him, but I'm still doing the first voiceover at the beginning,
Okay, yes.
Yeah, still doing that opening bit. There was another bit I did. It was like a newsreel part. This was right back at the beginning, and they had Ronald Reagan talking about Michael Jackson.
Right. Okay.
So, and
So
I
little
did that
clips
on
of.
there. I did the Ronald Reagan bit as well. You know.
Oh,
Michael
brilliant.
Jackson is the best person called Michael Jackson. You know,
You've got a talent and you do use it, because you can be a narrator, and you do this. You do character voices, listening books, audio books, celebrity impressions, and voicemail answer phone messages, and
yeah.
jingles, radio dramas. You do so much, and there's probably nothing you haven't done where you're using your vocals. So you really are you're getting the best out of your talent, aren't you, over the years?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with the job that I do at the moment is I got a job working at a school where they needed somebody to run their radio station. So they got me to do the job running the radio station. And it's for kids with disabilities. So I have to teach the kids to do voiceovers. So they come in and they say, we want to do, I did one this week where one of the kids wanted to do a little podcast of 5 minutes asking questions about the Tudors, about Tudor kings, about Henry VIII,
Okay.
and about Shakespeare, and about Queen Elizabeth I and Queen Anne. And she had all these things, and she had multiple choice questions, and she wanted to do it all. And she wanted me to join in with her, like doing, here is your Henry VIII quiz, sort of thing like that,
Nice.
And so I got her to record that with me, and I'm thinking, right, I'll get her to do it in her voices and put voices on for it and everything like that. So I've done that, and I edited it together with all the Tudor music, and so yeah, it does things like that. We make sort of radio shows where they're playing their favorite music for each other and things like that. So yeah, it's a
Such
really
a brilliant idea. It must be good fun for you as well, because you're doing your job is helping children, but you're doing what you love, and you're sharing your talent with the children, and they're learning along the way. It's fantastic.
It's a perfect job for me, because it's like everything I've ever learned I'm putting into this job.
Oh, contributional.
It's the editing in the radio station, it's the voices, it's doing the impressions. And we do bits where we have, not for a while, we haven't done it for about a year and a half, but where we do clubs for the kids. And I run karaoke clubs and drama clubs for them, when they're little impromptu pantos and things like that.
Okay, wow.
And it starts off as Aladdin and ends up as Star Wars.
Does everything end up in Star Wars because you love Star Wars?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
The kids change it as well,
Yeah, I bet they do. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the first things me and Nino watched in the first lockdown, was Star Wars 1, 2, 3, and then we went back and watched all of the others leading up, and every Star Wars film to watch, we done it. So yeah, so we became a little bit hooked as well,
Well, me and you, we watched the Star Wars film together, didn't we?
Did we? We did. We were. Was it before a Haven gig? We went off and we actually was it down in Bournemouth or something, Weymouth or something.
It was on the Isle of Wight.
That's right, and we had hours to kill when we went. Yeah. I forgot about that.
And there was a little theatre in the Isle of Wight. It was near. I was staying at Lower Hyde.
Right.
With Little Lee. Do you remember Little Lee Derbyshire?
Yes, I do. Brilliant. And he went up to Hopton Holiday Park. He's brilliant, Lee. And he wasn't little. It was an irony in the name, wasn't it? Because he was the tallest. He's
bloke. Like Little John from Robin Hood. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's good.
And I must have been at Nodes Point. And you were at Lower Hyde. And
I was at Lower Hyde, and I was over there for a couple of days. I was doing Lower Hyde and Thorness. Yeah, Nodes Point. I think it was Nodes Point. Yeah.
Yeah. So how weird that there was a Star Wars film on. You weren't going to not watch it, were you?
So we all went. There was you, me, Lee. We all went to see the Phantom Menace. Yeah.
That's it, when they started to come out again. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Can you tell me about Radio Teacher? Is this sort of what you're doing in the schools? But you've done something special on CBeebies in 2018 with Justin Fletcher.
That's right. Yeah, he actually came to the studio where I work at.
Yes.
And he filmed the whole of his episode, which is the 30 minutes episode was scented, was based in that studio. And I was there being there technical because they needed stuff from the studio. But I was in it for about one or two scenes. Right. So because he was originally going to be the DJ, but because I was so helpful and that they liked me, they said, "Come on, we'll put you in this." So
nice.
Put me in.
So
brilliant. Yeah, I did. So I did that. That was from the studio that I work at and run. And so that was good with Justin. Yeah, I get more sort of like texts from people who've seen that than I do from the BGT people.
Do you really?
Watching Mr. Tumble with my kids, and then you came up.
Like it's your fault. What was it like? So, I mean, because you do stand up as well anyway, and you went over to America, you've done the Hollywood Improv in Los Angeles, open mic stand up. So what was that like doing there as an Englishman? Did you just do American voices there that you knew they'd get?
I just scented it on American voices, really.
Great.
I mean, and it was sort of American voices. It was, when I say American, we had Arnold Schwarzenegger. I did Arnie.
Yes.
I did Arnie, and I did Donald Duck. I did Robin Williams. It was like, because it was the club where Robin Williams was discovered. Yes. So I did the ghost of Robin Williams has come back.
Wow.
Hey, I'm back. I've come back to haunt you. Yes, something like that. Hasta la vista, baby. Get out. And it was.
They must have killed them. They must have loved that.
Yeah, I did Donald Trump as well. Donald Trump was just at the time when I did it was just when Donald Trump was getting voted in. So yeah,
oh good.
Saying like this is with Obama you had a black president, and with me you're going to get an orange president. Donald Trump nowadays I just sell wine. I got Donald Trump wine. This is what I sell now. Donald Trump wine is made from sour grapes. Here, it's the greatest. It's the best. Yeah.
That's lovely. That's nice.
Ice and Teeth.
Television, Tony. It's very rare for acts like ourselves. You've popped up on quite a bit, and you've enjoyed shows like Tony Rudd Live at Jeff Rose. I remember doing that in 2004. We had that down at.
Did you do that? You did that too. Didn't you?
I did one of those. Yeah, and twice I did it. I think because they had two kind of seasons, and then it ended. It was on for a year, and then it went. It was a Sky channel, wasn't it? But it was great.
Sounds TV,
yes, and the variety show, and we got our own specials, didn't we? Got to do half-hour spots, and
in the club.
In the club. It was so nice to do with Jeff Rowe hosting, and it was just one of those last really club atmospheres really that I remember. You don't get much like that anymore. But it was a great TV experience, because it gave us the feel of doing our own Netflix special, I guess, a great audience. But you've done things like on Sky TV, Don't Stop Me Now.
That was crazy show that. Yeah. Did you ever see those shows?
I think I remember seeing a couple of them. Yeah. What was the premise of it?
They had this basically they had this thing where if they didn't like the acts would get either blown up or flown through a wall or dropped in a trapdoor. It was like that. So the singers were going down the trapdoor if you didn't like the singers, and the audience would vote. And if the audience voted more than 50% against, you get on a trapdoor. With the comedians, they put a harness around you and a rope that pulls you backwards through a brick wall.
Oh my goodness!
Out of sponge bricks, and I survived.
Oh, well done! You're still there.
I survived the sponge brick wall, but I did. What happens is when they decide on the last three, they put the last three people on trapdoors, and then the audience vote, and then the two people drop through the trapdoor, and the person who's won is the one that stays standing. So I got to that point.
That must have been nerve-wracking. Were you nervous? Like, you didn't know if you're going to drop or not? Was Paul Eastwood on that? I think Paul Eastwood
was on the same day. He was not the same program, but as I was going out, they were filming another one, and I just seen Eastie on the way in,
just putting his harness on. Oh man!
Yeah, enjoy your harness, mate.
Yeah.
I think he got away with it as well. I think.
Well, do you know what?
I
I'd
remember
rather get buzzed than being dropped through the floor or harnessed out of the studio window or sunroof.
Yeah. When you get dropped through the trap door, you land in a room underneath that's full of sponges to break your fall.
That
So
sounds like fun.
you end up standing upright in amongst the sponges, like that sort of thing. It's
Really? Straight into the
yeah,
green room.
it could have had an accident. Somebody could have had an accident probably.
That's crazy. You're not ready for it. It's crazy. Obviously, they're getting you ready for that sort of thing. But there are kind of TV shows that you've been on. Like Hangar 17 was a great kids show, wasn't it? I love those sort of shows, and it gives you a chance to do your act.
Proper TV gig. That was.
Yeah,
that was,
they pay you to come in, do your spot. They don't buzz you off or open the floor, and then you stand up live. I remember you stand up live for live TV. I've done a couple of those. For me, it was awful. I was 20 years old. I didn't really have an act. I wasn't, and I didn't even stand up. I remember sitting down on a chair doing my event because I had 2 puppets. But you done about 8 of those, didn't you?
Yeah, I did loads, and it was actually considered part of the London comedy circuit, and it was in that big tower in
Canary Wharf, wasn't it? Yeah.
And anyway, it was going well. I was going well. I did 8 of them, and they were making a new show, which was like a Whose Line Is It Anyway? Right. And the bloke who produced that show, Stand Up Live, had a chat with me, and he said, "Would you like to be the host of the Whose Line Is It Anyway type show?"
Wow.
And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And then the whole thing closed down. It's before that show was made, so I missed out on that.
But, that's a shame. That is a shame. Wow.
It was nice to have been asked, So
you done a Des O'Connor show?
Yeah, Pot of Gold. Did you do that one?
Oh, blimey, I did that. Yeah. I mean, these ones that you've done, I've done bad on. Apart from the Jeff Rose gig, I've done bad on all the other ones that you did.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't enjoy. No, Pot of Gold. I was one of those 30-second acts, and that's all they gave me. I never came back.
Yeah. I was the 30-second act, but I won the 30-second act and then got an act, got
to do 3 minutes later on, didn't you?
Got the 3 minutes. So in many ways, I quite like that because I got to do two acts. Yeah. 2 acts, and I changed my clothes. So when I did me 3-minute spot, I had a different outfit on from the 30-second spot. So I've managed to get myself 2 little show reels there.
I was going to say show reels is good for that, and that's brilliant. We're getting up to the. Let's talk about Britain's Got Talent. So I done it in 2013, and you've done a very recent one. So you've done the last one before all the world went crazy, really, didn't you?
Yeah,
because you had the audience. Yeah, you had the audience, and you literally had the audience in the palm of your hand. It was wonderful. And so, how was the experience for you, Tony? Because did you come up with the idea of recycling things, using recycled things from the home? Because it was such a different idea, wasn't it, for an impressionist?
Yeah. And I mean, what it was is that when I they approached me and said, we've looked at your website and you've got all these audios of you doing impressions on, and they said, would you be prepared to record them? So I recorded me doing the voices. And then I got the C3PO jugs out and did the C3PO with it. And they said, we love that. Do you do any more prop related stuff? And of course, you've seen me over the years, mate. You know what I'm like. I pick up props and do it all the time. And so I thought, yeah, but I didn't think anyone liked props these days. And they said, we want something a little bit different. We've seen loads of impressionists over the years that just stand there with the mic. And that's been great. We love that, and they're good. They're all talented people. But we think we've seen every impression now. Can you do something different? And I thought, right, leave it with me, and I'll come up with something. So I came up with the idea of just using anything, and I went round the house. I picked up sort of sink plungers and used them as Daleks. And used one of those air fresheners to blast it out, that sort of thing, and a bucket on my head for Darth Vader because that makes me sound like Darth Vader, but it gives you the look of him as well. So
good, yeah. It was so inventive, innovative, That's the word. And good game. And so it was
We're doing a Brucey's there. Doing Brucey's.
Mate, it was so good to see not only you on TV, but to see you come out with something brand new. And it literally, you know, they say people recycle material. You used recycled, but brand new material. you
That's such a good way of putting it, mate.
Yeah. It was just brilliant. It was so nice to see. And the judges loved it. Simon Cowell said it was original. And David Williams, there's only one way to judge comedy. Is it funny or not? That was brilliant. Amanda Holden, you'll inspire dads to try this at home to entertain the kids. And literally all the judges commented on you. And Alicia Dixon, your impressions are brilliant. Once you get all the judges on your side, you know that you're going to get further in the show, and they want you on the show. Because if the people behind the scenes want you and the judges want you, it's a no-brainer. You know, you're going to be entertaining. You're going to do what you do. And then and literally just before we came on here, I watched your semi-live, and you nailed this at night at the Apollo. You've had your night at the Apollo. Every comedian
I loved it, mate. It was
dreams
great.
of that. And you really didn't waste any time, did you?
No, that's exactly the words Amanda said. She said you didn't waste a second or something like that.
Yes,
you used it every second, because I just literally went into Robin Williams mode and went straight into it. I had a feather duster for Donald Trump, which I used again for the Donald Trump into Donald Duck. And and I what else did I do? I did loads on that. You know, I did Arnold Schwarzenegger with a Coke bottle top for his red eye.
And it worked.
Right.
It was
it was I did Sear. I did Sear, and I put a lampshade on my head, and it got a laugh. So I thought, I don't know, I've never done that before.
Yeah.
And then when I took it off, I said as a very aside, even under my breath, I just said, "Now you can't see her," and I had to stop again because they laughed at that bit. I was very pleased with it, you know. So yeah,
oh, it's great ad-libbing during a live TV spot that can change your life. It's crazy. Yeah. But in that venue as well, I mean, it's a big room to fill, wasn't it? But you were standing ovation on that night again. So well done, mate. That was just fantastic.
Cheers, Steve. It was good, and it means a lot that you'd watched. One of me mates from back in the day had watched it
and
stuff, and you'd said, "Yeah, he's still going." And we had exactly the same sensation when you went on as well. Me and the wife, we were back here, and we were on the phone, stabbing in the number. Yeah, come on, Steve, for the win, stuff like that. And we were so pleased because you come up with some good stuff on that, and you did the Simon Cowell doll.
I recycled my props as well, because that wasn't a Simon Cowell doll. That was just a cheeky boy character, or he was like a bodybuilder, and he had these swimming shorts on, and he's like a naked chest, But I recycled the dummy into Simon Cowell, and it was a puppet maker that done that for me. So, so we both kind of used the same idea, coming up with something new and something recycled.
That if you were to say what advice would you give to somebody for BGT, is to do exactly that. Is not go on, you may well have tried and tested material that works on cruise ships, but it's fresh, new material, fresh, something a bit bonkers, something that, remember, they've seen everything going through there. They've researched, they've seen everything. So when you do something different, they really go for it. That's what I would say. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, definitely. It worked, didn't it? It worked for you at that time as well. It was perfect timing, because they wanted something fresh and new. And it's nice when they give you ideas, or they ask if you've got another way of doing your act, because we would never have thought of that, would we? We wouldn't have thought of now. I mean, do you go out and do some of the acts like that now, or do you? You don't revert back to the way you used to, but now you're known as doing recycling.
Yeah, so I do. The act that I'm going to be doing soon as these things. I've got a few in the books coming up on July the 3rd. I've got one, and basically, it's back to it's back to what I did on BGT.
Yes,
mixed with some of the old favorites, stuff that works, but fluffed up. So it's it's nice. It's nice like that. Yeah, they said they wanted come up with something different. And I just had to come up with all these old stuff, and all these old stuff that I used to do, like the Donald Duck, all that. Yeah.
It was the transition from the Donald Trump, like you say, the Donald Trump hair because it was a yellow feather duster. So you're doing Donald Trump directly into Donald Duck. It was so funny. And there it is.
The very one, actual BGT prop.
That's the BGT. I've got the BGT trunks. There it is. This is visual, folks. And then I've still got my BGT suit because I've not been able to get in it since my 40th. 3 years after BGT, I turned 40. And I think I got about 40 bottles of champagne and Prosecco. And I drunk the lot within a couple of months. And I think it's the bubbles. I've just bloated in the bubble. I can't get back into that suit since then, you know. You just enjoy life, don't you? You enjoy life and bubbles. So Tony, now you do a Vibe Radio. You still on Vibe Radio? Was that what you work on?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's where I work with the kids. Do the Vibe Radio. We work on all sorts of shows, and they go out. There's a website called Mixcloud, which has some of the shows we do.
Okay, so you can listen to some of those.
You can listen to some, and mainly it just broadcasts around the school.
Yes.
And I'm working on the parent company to build it up so it's a bigger radio station centered for disabled people, you know, people with autism and people with cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, you know.
Oh wow, bless you, mate. Yeah.
And some of them need help moving the stuff. Some of them need communicators, you know, a bit like Lost Voice Guy. They do.
Yes.
We had one guy who couldn't use his hands, but he would do the sliders with his chin and go like that.
Wow.
And they say he'd say, right, here is Tina Turner, and he'd push the button with his chin and pull the slider down, or push the slider up with his chin. Yeah,
that's incredible. So they're adapting in the studio. They adapt to how, and they're learning how to do all that stuff themselves. I work with a guy. I'm doing a show with him, and he's a podcaster. He's called Josh Barry, and he does this wonderful. He's got cerebral palsy, and he does these wonderful talks. He's written a book, and now he's doing the talks live on stage. And I'm doing one with him on the Isle of Wight, and he's got a compere. A wonderful compere called Phil Reed, who's a stand-up comedian. So he's got the questions, but Josh Barry's going to be there, you know, because it's all written on his screen, which he's done all with his chin as well. And you know, it's incredible, you know, how they, you know, everyone should be able to communicate, and there's ways of doing it, you know, and it's so nice for you to give them opportunity on that Vibe Radio to do what you do, because you got put a lot of time into that, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do. I put a lot of time into it. I'm there in the studio every day. I'll edit stuff together. I've got one lad who's got MD, muscular dystrophy, and he went through depression and didn't come into school for a few years.
Right.
And then he said he wants to come back at school, and he said he wants to come on the radio, and he wants to share motivational speaking. He wants to be motivated. He wants to speak about his experiences of depression, how he got out of it. And he wants to talk about it on the radio, and we're now doing. I think we're up to our 14th podcast, me and him, that we've been doing. We started it back in the. We were doing it on Zoom like we are now.
Yes.
And we chat away, and then I put sound effects and jingles in, and he tells me, and we talk about. He talked about body shaming. You know, we were talking about body shaming one week, and then one week he's talking about anxiety. And then he gets guests on. We get guests, people we know, and they talk about their experience with motivation. We get sports people on there and things like that.
Oh, lovely, mate.
And I edit them all together, and they are on Mixcloud. You can hear them on Mixcloud. But I'm really proud of that, because I'm proud of the guy, because, you know, a couple of years ago he went through it. You know, and now he wants to talk about it, and he's got such a good sense of humor as well, you know.
Oh, that's lovely. It's really nice to give them that platform, isn't it? And to actually listen, for people to listen, and we'll put a little link to that if we can, and so people can listen in, and that would be fantastic. And I remember going to a school locally in Eastbourne here, actually, and the teachers they started their own little radio station in the school, and I thought, what a wonderful idea. And they invited me after BGT. Actually, they invited me to come in with my puppets and do a little chat. and that they were the presenters. There was like 3 or 4 kids. One of them had autism, and they said particularly there's this young guy who has a puppet. He wants to show you his puppet, but he wants to talk to you about ventriloquism, and the young girls in there want to present the show and be presenters and ask you questions. And then he's going to do a little bit of vent and see if you can teach them a bit of vent on the show. I've had a lot of connections with children with autism that use puppets and things, and it really does help. Puppets really are a great way of communicating with children, with difficulties and learning difficulties. And but this kid, he really shone. So they said we never seen his eyes light up like when you came into the studio and you were doing your puppet, he was doing his. And it just makes their day, and it's so nice to see that the kids that are normally, don't find it that easy to be in school, but you're giving them a reason to be there, and you're doing that completely with Vibe Radio. That's brilliant, because I had a very small taste of it, but you're hands-on.
It's very much that's me every day, and coming up with ideas and doing that sort of thing. If you're ever in Bournemouth, mate, come along and we'll get you on the show. If you ever want to come along and do the show, mate,
I'd love to come on. And if you, I'll wait for you to invite me, but I'm not going to push myself on you. But you have to have Steve Hewlett. I'm out of work, and I'd love to do that. I've not been to Bournemouth for years, mate. It'd be so nice to come down. So
we've got one student who he speaks through a glove puppet cow. He's got a glove puppet cow.
Wow.
And he calls it Macau. And then he got this he's got cerebral palsy, but he's also got a bit of autism as well. And I believe he's got autism. And he speaks through the cow. He's been speaking through the cow for a while, but then he got into John Cleese. And when autistic people, they find something, they get very focused is the expression I'm going to use. Okay. And they get very focused. And he now talks through the cow as John Cleese. But the cow was originally just a toy, but now he's got a glove puppet cow, which is the upgrade. And so he's attempting. He's going, "Yeah, how you doing? Yes, hello, I am the Cleese, the cow, and I am from Faulty Towers." And he's attempting to be a vent with it.
Mate, he's going to put us both out of work. What's going on? Be careful. Don't be too good a teacher.
Yeah, exactly. Two of us for the price of one doing Basil Fawlty impressions, then one. And he comes on, he does this, basically, it's kind of, he likes to think of it a bit like a sitcom. He just comes on and rants as John Cleese, through via this thing. And I play Manuel occasionally, and he gets other teachers in, and he gives the other teachers hell and stuff.
That's so good. That's brilliant. Yeah, I bet you made his day as well. I mean, just sort of being part of that. It's so nice.
Yeah. And it makes my day, doing these crazy things,
you're giving back.
Yeah, giving it back, exactly. Yeah.
Paying it forward, as they say. And thank you so much for paying forward your time today, Tony Rudd. It's always been nice to see you, and just bumping into you in the garden the other day. He's not my gardener. We were at a party, and with other entertainers who we all wanted to hug. We couldn't hug, but we were all there, and it was just so nice, wasn't it, to be normal for a few hours and to see each other. And I'm glad that we met again, because we're now doing this, and it's just wonderful to see you.
It's great. And this is such a great thing as well, mate. I'm enjoying this. It's just chatting and, catching up.
Yes.
But it's catching up with a mate. And then, like you say, it's a pro show as well. So, it's nice to do. Feel completely at ease, just waffling away, to my heart's content here with you, mate.
I know there's no pressure, is there? But, I don't think there'll be much to edit, to be honest, mate. It's been really enjoyable. And I'll let you know if I can come down to Bournemouth. And if I'm passing to do a gig in the evening, like a Weymouth gig or something, and if you're in the studio and you want me to pop in for half hour, I'd love to come in and do something. If you want something like that. So I
would love something like that, mate. I'd love it, because I think, like you say, we could get Elliot, this little lad, to come in. He's not quite so little. He's in his teens there. Sure. But he could come in and he could see what you do and stuff like that, and he might get a few tips. But the rest of the kids would love it as well, and all sorts of boxes ticked. He's a man. He was on BGT. you and I know each other, so there'll be that connection as well. So, and then the kids will love it. That'd be good. I've had
brilliant.
some panto actors I've worked with come down as well. So it'd be
Lovely.
nice to have, yourself coming in, mate. So yeah.
Amazing. I'll
Yeah.
bring me. I'll have my characters in the boot anyway. So we'll stay in touch with that, mate, and we'll get something
Yeah.
done. But thanks for being on Eyes and Teeth, Tony Rudd. You're a star, mate.
Thank you for asking me, mate.
Eyes and Teeth.
Thanks to Tony. Always a pleasure catching up with him. And if you want to catch up with Tony Rudd, take a look at his website, TonyRuddVoiceoverArtist.com. You can find him on Facebook as Tony Rudd and check out his many clips on YouTube. It's thoroughly entertaining. Today's quote comes from Robin Williams. Just because a person smiles all the time doesn't mean their life is perfect. That smile is a symbol of hope and strength. Eyes and Teeth is written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Vocals by Lola, Larissa and Nina Hewlett. Additional vocals by Rich T. The Eyes and Teeth music and jingles are produced and performed by Kevin Dean. Join me for another exciting edition of Eyes and Teeth Voices of Variety when I chat with a national treasure and voice of TV, sitcom and variety, the wonderful Sue Pollard.